How did we end up here? It's a question many of us ask when we look back at a love that once meant everything. There was a time when just seeing their name on your phone could make your entire day better. A time when conversations lasted until sunrise and goodbyes felt too short. We shared dreams, secrets, fears, and pieces of ourselves that nobody else got to see. Back then, it felt impossible to imagine a future without them. But life has a way of changing things. Not all at once. Not overnight. Sometimes love doesn't break with a loud crash. Sometimes it fades quietly. One missed conversation becomes two. One unresolved argument becomes a wall. The little things we once appreciated become things we barely notice. We get comfortable. We get distracted. We assume there will always be another chance to say what needs to be said. And somewhere in that silence, distance begins to grow. The hardest part isn't always losing someone. Sometimes it's realizing that the person standing in front of you is no longer the person you fell in love with. And maybe you're not the same person either. People grow. People change. And sometimes they grow together. Sometimes they grow apart. That doesn't mean the love wasn't real. The memories were real. The laughter was real. The promises were real. For that moment in time, everything you felt was genuine. But love alone isn't always enough. Love requires effort. It requires understanding. It requires choosing each other again and again, even when things become difficult. And when that stops happening, even the strongest relationships can begin to crumble. So we sit there, holding on to old memories, asking ourselves, how did we end up here? Maybe the answer isn't one big mistake. Maybe it's 1,000 small moments that slowly changed the story. The words we never said. The chances we never took. The feelings we never shared. The apologies that came too late. But here's what I've learned. Not every relationship is meant to last forever. Some people enter our lives to teach us lessons we couldn't learn any other way. They teach us about trust. About sacrifice. About heartbreak. About ourselves. And even though losing them hurts, their presence leaves a mark that helps shape who we become. So if you're looking back at someone you once loved and wondering how everything changed, don't just focus on what was lost. Remember what was gained. Remember the growth. Remember the lessons. Remember the version of yourself that emerged stronger than before. Because sometimes the end of a relationship isn't the end of your story. It's simply the chapter that prepares you for the next one. A chapter where you love wiser. Love deeper. And understand yourself a little better. So maybe the question isn't, how did we end up here? Maybe the question is, where do I go from here? And the answer is simple. Forward.